What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and today I'm here to review the Smashing Pumpkins' Siamese Dream, the next in their chronological order of albums. So, we're going to be doing this, like I said 2 weeks ago. We're going to be reviewing every single Smashing Pumpkins album. Very, very excited to go right through it. Part of our, every other week Smashing Pumpkins kind of discussion. I want to talk about all their albums, and I want to have conversations about the band in general, talk about the tour as it gets closer, as well as other subjects. So last time we reviewed Gish. Definitely go check that out. We talked all about Gish. We do the same thing for Siamese Dream. Same kind of format. Actually, all the formats for all these kind of album reviews are the same. I like to talk about the history. I like to talk about what happened with it. I like to talk about its overall sound and my impressions of it. And then I go and I break down and I talk about every single song in the entire album. So Siamese Dream was released on July 27th, 1993. It was worked on basically the same year. It was worked on between December and March of 1992 and 1993. And, the history of this one, just like any Smashing Pumpkins album, it seems like every single one, except for maybe Oceania or Monuments, had so much interesting history, a lot of negativity around it, and it kind of fun to talk about and interesting to talk about and look back on and research, but definitely not good for the band at the time. This was obviously when a lot of the stuff started that we now know of the Smashing Pumpkins. This is the album that really did it. I'm sure, if you're watching this, you've heard all sorts of stories about this album. This is really where the Billy Corgan being a tyrannical leader took place. I mean, he did all the stuff himself for the most part, and just reading about it, it's crazy the amount of work. I'm not criticizing Billy Corgan because I think the album wouldn't be as special as it was without what happened. Everything that happened led to it being the album that it was, and I think it's even more special knowing just how much work and just the craziness of it. So, you had Jimmy Chamberlin at the time, seriously into drugs, disappearing for days on end. That's when they had, talked about that. They sent, the message out being anybody seen our drummer? So that was during that. Darcy would lock herself in the bathroom and just never come out. James just didn't talk. He didn't talk to anybody. They had just gone through their breakup. Obviously, they were going to get married, James and Darcy, and they broke it off. Billy was dealing with a ton of personal stuff. The breakup of his relationship, suicide. He was having suicidal thoughts to the point of when he was writing and when he was recording it, he was planning to kill himself afterwards. And obviously that's where Today comes from too. Part of that, where he was sitting in his room on the second story of his house. He looked outside and he either said I'm either gonna jump or I'm gonna sit down and write down this song, and he wrote Today, and Today was the first song on Siamese Dream. Siamese Dream is obviously what cemented the Pumpkins as an actual huge band. I mean, Gish did really, really good, but it was a surprise success, especially like we talked about last time. No singles, there were singles, but no really catchy, pop hit, no song that really got people. And so Billy Corgan obviously had to worry about that, and he's a perfectionist. Say what you want about him, he's definitely a perfectionist, and it got to him. He overdubbed almost all of Darcy and James' stuff. They did play on parts of this album, but he tended to just put his own parts over it. He tended to be able to do stuff faster than them, and he obviously has the vision in his head of what he wanted to sound like. There was a little bit of collaboration, James did a couple things for Billy. He wrote he wrote the opening of Soma, and he also did part of Mayonnaise, not the lyrics and not the main song, but he did the demo, the guitar demo for Mayonnaise, which obviously became such a huge story later on. It was who actually did what? Was it completely James' song and Billy stole it or whatever? Billy Corgan basically did the entire song. James did part of it. This isn't a criticism of those two or those three. Jimmy Chamberlin obviously did all of his own drumming parts. There was a story that when he disappeared for days on end, he came back and Billy made him play Cherub Rock until his hands bled. So I mean, this is quite interesting, right? So a lot of stuff happened. The fracture of the band happened right here, if it didn't already happen during Gish. This was the remnants of it. And obviously they try and patch stuff up in the future with Melancholy and even with Adore, but obviously it just falls apart, and this is part of it. And again, the magic of this album is just in this album. The sound was way, I think, ahead of its time. The amount of work and effort. I mean, this was supposed to not be the biggest budget in the world. They went severely over budget. It cost like $250,000 to make this record back in '93. It spent 36 days to mix the entire album when it was supposed to take 2 weeks, and they were in there, like I said, for months when it was not supposed to take months. So they spent so much time. You know, they were working on like 45-second portions of songs, or 15 or something ridiculous, and it took them like 2 days to get one specific section. That's how slow they kind of worked. But you know what, when you listen to the album, like all that stuff has a purpose, right? Because the album is beautiful. It's a beautiful album. It's got so many sounds. There's so many guitar parts to it. They even talked about that, how, you know, Soma has like over 40 guitar parts put into it. One song, they didn't say what song it was, has over 100 guitar parts in it. So the overdub of guitars, this is the biggest time. I think this is really where they showed the most the sound they can make by putting one guitar noise over the other. And they do a really good live, yes, and it's in Melancholy, and it's in Adore, and it's in Machina. It's in Machina actually a lot, I'd argue. But Siamese Dream is really where it started, where like, yes, like there's just so many noises. You can hear it if you're, you know, if you're listening to with earphones. It's coming out of your left ear, it's coming out of your right ear. There are different sounds, and there's all this stuff on top of each other. That's what this album is, and it's really, really special. This is one of my favorite Pumpkins albums. This, I think, is most people. Some people think it's the best album they ever made. I don't really want to talk about where any of the albums rank, right? I think I said Gish would probably be my least favorite of most of the Smashing Pumpkins albums. I'm not going to rank them until I've reviewed all of them and I really take a look, because it's really hard for me to rank them, because I love a lot of things about like Adore and Machina, you know, albums that people don't really like, even Machina 2, and I also like albums like Oceania and stuff like that. So, you know, it's hard to rank. It's hard to rank, but Siamese Dream is definitely among the best and among the most respectable works that anybody has done for their second album, and for the pressure they were feeling, and for just all the criticism and everything that happened. That album is a masterpiece and one of the best albums of all time. You can find it on any ranking of the best albums of all time, and that, I think, that's really special. That's really special. Like, Billy Corgan did quite. It's hard to, you know, the Smashing Pumpkins / Billy Corgan did a fantastic job on this album. Every song, there's not really any weak songs. Some songs I definitely like more than others. It's an album that I think flows a lot better, and I think it gets a little bit weaker towards the end. Maybe that's just the song placement. It's not, you know, the best album all the way through. It definitely has where some songs aren't as good as the other, but that doesn't mean it's a bad album. I think this is an amazing album, really, really, really good. So I'm going to talk about each song. Again, I don't really go into the songs super in depth, but I do want to touch upon what I think of every song. Okay, so it opens with the classic Cherub Rock, one of the singles of the album, and one of the better songs I think the Smashing Pumpkins have ever made. This song is super, super good. It's obviously something that a lot of people recognize when they think of the Smashing Pumpkins. You know, the drum roll in the beginning, and then it starts with the guitar, and that song is really, really cool. I mean, it's that one is talking also about like the music industry, a little bit different than most of the lyrics and what he's talking about in this album. This album has a lot to do with life and relationships, especially because of his breakup with his wife, Billy Corgan's. But this song has to do with the music industry, and talking about really what it's like being so small. And obviously this does come back. I mean, he is talking about the band and the kind of nature and world that they lived in at that time. It does obviously come back in Melancholy and The Infinite Sadness with Bullet with Butterfly Wings, another one kind of talking about like what actually goes on in the music industry. But Cherub Rock, beautiful song, beautiful song. The solo is obviously very, very classic. A lot of the parts of this song are very classic. It's a classic rock song. You still hear it on the radio quite often. It's one of the best openings to an album I think he's ever had. I really do like Everlasting Gaze, and I even like To Sheila. But this one definitely, I mean, it gets you into the mood, and you know, it's got that like psychedelic feel to it, and you hear his voice, and everything's very clean. This album is a lot nicer, and it just sounds way more well mixed than Gish. Gish does sound really, really, and I'm listening to the reissues, or I'm listening to them on YouTube and stuff, so, and I mean, I have all the reissue CDs, but it obviously didn't sound like that originally, but this one you can tell it just sounds cleaner, everything sounds more polished, and again, you hear the multiple guitars, the solo, the synthesizers he uses all throughout this album, but especially, like in the solo, it's incredible. This is a really nice song. I can play this song on the guitar. I absolutely love it. Quiet is number 2, and if you read the book that, kind of like the packet that Billy Corgan wrote when he started to reissue these back in like 2011, he wrote about Quiet, and he said that he didn't even like the song. He didn't even like the song, and he didn't even feel comfortable putting it where it was, and he was very, very worried about Quiet on this album. He didn't think it held up. I think it holds up insanely well. Again, I really, really like the background music. Everything in this song is very fast too, for the most part. It's got a different kind of riff than Cherub Rock, definitely. It contrasts it pretty well, but it stays in like the rock feel. It's very, very heavy. Also has a fantastic solo. I mean, the song doesn't have, I guess, what's special about Cherub Rock. Maybe it's, kind of like how it gets to the music. Quiet gets into him singing faster than Cherub Rock. They like to play around with that a lot. And that comes into play a lot here where, the Smashing Pumpkins is his voice, is Billy Corgan's voice, but it is a lot about the music. The guitars and all of the noises that the guitars are making, and even the drums, definitely are supposed to be, in front. They're out here, he's back here. That's the problem, again, like I've talked in the past. With Zeitgeist, it's reversed. His voice is in front. And I don't know why that's the case, but we'll talk about that when we get to Zeitgeist. But that's what makes the Pumpkins, right? And this is where they start to really go tonally different, where they balance, having a lot of just musical sections. They do that later on in this album, that I'm not going to maybe say the name of the song, but they do that later on in this album, and they slow things down, they speed things up, and they play around with what's in front of what. And they're not afraid to let music, the actual guitar and bass and drums, they're not afraid to let that just linger out there. I mean, they do that quite a lot, and in this album in particular, it really makes a beautiful sound. I think people are more fed up with it now, or like in the Oceania era, and then kind of like this past 10 years, I think people have become a little bit, resistant to that kind of music. That's what they do. That's what they've always done. And that doesn't exactly apply to Quiet, but I just felt like I'd throw that in there. Today is next, and again, Today, a beautiful song, beautiful song. It can really connect to just about anybody. Like I said, the story of Billy Corgan, he was either going to kill himself or write the song. He wrote the song. It was the first song he wrote on the album. It's one of his most popular songs ever. Listening to him play it live is super, super cool. Electric guitar, or just when he plays it acoustically, the last couple tours, he's only done acoustic tours most of the time recently, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful no matter what. Letting the crowd sing the bend, that part, that's awesome. That's awesome, and that's a pretty song. The opening guitar part is really, really awesome, and the music video is really cool with the ice cream truck and all that stuff, and obviously they've been playing around with that when they announced the reunion tour. The girls are standing there, the Siamese Dream girls are standing there with the heart on fire, and Today is playing. So it's a very popular song. I think it connects to a lot of people because it does have meaning in all of our lives too, and it's just that's a song you hear, if you listen to a radio every day, you're gonna probably hear Today at some point. Hummer is next, and Hummer is definitely one of my favorite songs of all time by them. It is, again, a song, this one is a song that plays with the music. He plays with the music a lot. His voice is in there. It's obvious. It's in the middle. It's really in the middle. The ending is all guitar. All really beautiful, kind of far out guitar. He uses the delay pedal for that part, and I love that. I mean, I love to play on the guitar. Just the actual scale he's walking up in that song is really, really beautiful at the very end. And it's a long song. It's 6 minutes and 57 seconds, so it's quite a long. But really, the last minute and a half to 2 minutes is just the actual guitar part. And in the middle parts, they do it all the time too. So there is a lot of breaks in the song where it just lets you listen to the guitar. And this sound that he developed for Hummer is one of the more beautiful arrangements that he's made, I think, in his entire career. Hummer is definitely, it could be my favorite song on this album, even better than some of the singles. Today is one of my favorite songs too, but Hummer is a really beautiful song, and it's not underrated, I don't think, because he has played it live. People do really like it and ask for it, so this is a really, really good song, and a really good opening. I mean, those 4 songs, back to back to back to back, are fantastic to open up an album. Now, Rocket is next after that, and now here's the thing. I like Rocket. I like its music video. I like a lot of things about Rocket. Rocket just doesn't do it for me. Everything sounds messy in Rocket. You can't understand a single word he says, and now, okay, to give credit, you can't really understand half the words that he says back in the Gish and Siamese Dream. You know, Melancholy is really the first time that you could hear a lot of what he's actually saying, and then it goes into a door, and then it kind of gets pulled back again in Machina. But this song, you know, I like it, okay, I like it. I guess the anger with me is like, it's hard to hear anything very clearly. Like, again, Hummer is so beautiful because you can hear all the guitar picks. You can hear them all. And they're delayed, obviously, so you hear the ringing, he's hitting it, but then you hear the noise afterward. I mean, I really like that. I like that effect just when playing the guitar. I don't even have one, but I really like that effect. But when it comes to Rocket, it's just messy. You can't exactly hear what's going on. And especially the lyrics, like I said, you know, Rocket, they would play that during their touring days with Gish. And Billy Corgan's even said he didn't even have lyrics for Rocket. He would just make up his own lyrics live. Now, firstly, that's awesome. That's super funny and super cool. But I think that's gotten into the actual song to the point of, yes, when they did record it and they did actually make the lyrics, you still can't understand anything. It does sound like if you just make your voice sound like his, you know, the nasally voice, and you play music on top of it, you could probably sing Rocket too, even if you've never heard or read any of the actual lyrics of the song. Now, I have read them, but my point is, like, you just can't hear it. And I do listen to a lot of bands where singers mumble, or not exactly. Billy Joe Armstrong of Green Day, he mumbles, okay? That was his thing. He's gotten better at it now. Billy Corgan doesn't necessarily mumble, but there's so many noises going on, which is part of the Pumpkins, and his voice is behind them, and it's got all those effects on it that it does make it harder to actually understand what he's saying. That's the case with really all of this. Cherub Rock, too, you can't really understand. Quiet, you can understand a little bit better. Today, you can definitely understand. Hummer, to an extent, you can. Rocket, just forget about it. Disarm is next, and Disarm is a very, very special song. That's a beautiful song. You know, really acoustic. You know, you obviously have the background instruments as well. It's not just the bass and not just the drums. This song is really, really cool, and obviously, you know, a lot of controversy with it. You know, Cut That Little Child. It got banned in the UK because of that line, you know, talking about Billy Corgan's experience, being in the situation that he was when he was younger with his parents. So, you know, it's very connecting to him. It's very emotional, and I will say that it's, to be honest, it's not my favorite song on the album. It's not maybe even my top 2 or 3. I love the song. What I really love about it is live. Live, it just has a whole different meaning. I think it connects to a lot of people. And I've seen him on tour 3 times now, and I think he played it twice. One of the times he played it, it was the VIP access. I went to the VIP access like with a group of 20. He played it, awesome way to end it. But then he did play it live with the Marilyn Manson concert when they toured together, I think 2015. And the 3,000, 4,000 of us sang with him. And that was really cool. You know, because, you know, when I saw Green Day, like, you know, everybody sings because they, you know, they play the biggest hits and stuff. The Smashing Pumpkins is very different. They have more hardcore fans, and not everybody's into them, so you don't really have that situation. You can't really sing the lyrics with. That's not really a Pumpkins concert singing along with him. But Disarm, everybody gets in. Everybody was singing it, which is really, really, again, same thing with like Today when everybody does that too, and everybody kind of hums over the guitar solo if he doesn't play it, especially if he's doing it acoustically like I was saying, then you can hum the guitar part. Really, really cool, and he kind of expects it at this point, which is funny. But that's what I like about Disarm. Its live performance is miles better, I think, miles better than the performance on the album, and that does happen again, especially with their more recent stuff. Hearing it live is so much better, and I do like it, their new albums too, but so much better live than it is on the album. Soma is next, and we're going to start speeding things up. So Soma is a fantastic song. There's so many things you could say about Soma. What I'll say is this. It's a song, again, plays with the guitar so much, plays around with, this is obviously the song, of all the overdubs. Just guitar on top of guitar on top of guitar, and it's so amazing. And I've seen people play the solo trying to cover it, and literally like their fingers bleed because it's that hard to play. And it's got so much emotion, and that's what I really like about the ending of it. So he goes into the hardcore solo, one of the best solos, again rated on magazines and websites, one of the best guitar solos ever made in terms of music. And he goes into the solo, and it's amazing. It's amazing. But then he's singing, and the notes of the guitar are matching his voice, and they're still going in the solo fashion. And it's the best way, I think, to end this song, and one of the best ways to end a song. This Soma is one of the best songs on this album. I think it's also one of the most underrated Smashing Pumpkins songs ever made. Geek USA. Oh boy, I love Geek USA, okay? I really, really, really want to learn this song on guitar. I can play some Smashing Pumpkins songs on guitar, but not enough. Not as many as I would like. And I can play a lot more of their middle career music than I can the very beginning, like Gish, Siamese Dream, or late, as in like Monuments or something. And so this is a song I'd love to play. I mean, the guitar rocks in this song. The drums rock in this song. I mean, this is and this is very fast-paced. Very fast-paced in the album, very fast-paced live. I mean, I don't really want to say a lot about Geek USA. It's a fantastic song. It's been played in like hockey games, which is really, really cool, but it's definitely a way to get people into it because this is a pure rock song, very, very fast-paced, beautiful music all around. Again, can't necessarily understand him, and a much longer song too. A lot of these songs start to stretch into where you understand that Smashing Pumpkins don't make 2-minute videos like a Blink-182 or something. They make long, and they experiment, they put music, and they put sounds into it as well as their voices. So this is a perfect example of that. This song is really, really good for where it is on the album. Mayonnaise is next. Mayonnaise is beautiful. Mayonnaise, see, when I was reading down these, I didn't forget about Mayonnaise when I was talking about the earlier songs, but Mayonnaise could and probably is my favorite song in this album. I love its opening. I love the work that Billy and James do together, how one is basically playing each note of a chord while the other one is actually doing notes separate from it, but they work so well. Like I mean, they're same key. They work really, really well together. And then they start it like that, and then after we kind of go through this journey, and it's a long song, it's got many verses, then it ends, and it ends, the same way as the beginning, where again they're playing in the individual notes of the chord, but it's a different, Billy is doing something different than he was in the beginning. It's a beautiful song. It's a beautiful song. I love it. This one you can't understand his voice more, and it's slower. It slows down the pace. After Geek USA, you need to slow down the pace because you cannot possibly keep that pace up for the entire length of an album, and they did. They slowed it down. Mayonnaise is a slower song. It's become one of the best. I think I was reading that it was voted the best Smashing Pumpkins song ever. Fair. It's fair. That's a beautiful, beautiful song. A song that's not a single, but it's something that a lot of Pumpkins fans respect. They expect to see it. I cannot doubt, or I don't doubt for a second that we're not going to see it on this tour with James back. I'm sure they're both going to play it together, obviously, so I think 100% you'll see it every single night when they come back in July. So I'm pumped to see that live. I have, I think, seen him play it live. I'm sure out of those 3 times, he's played it at least once, and that's a really beautiful song. Spaceboy is next, and Spaceboy is a pretty love song too. Again, very slower. Very much slower than even, I think, Mayonnaise, I'd argue. Obviously wrote about his half-brother, and it's a really nice song. I mean, the lyrics definitely have meaning to them. You can understand the lyrics better in this one. And everything's really, in terms of like the orchestral set behind him, and what's going on in that, it's not as polished. It sounds older, and it sounds not as, I don't know, it sounds like, here's the thing, it sounds a little bit out of tune, I'd even argue, and in a way it works. It works with Spaceboy because, to be honest, even the guitar, even the tuning of the guitar sounds weird, like sounds purposely off. It's not. I've never read that it's purposely like that, but to me, just when I hear it, the music, the chords of the guitar, and even, the background, like the cello, sounds super off to me. It doesn't sound the same really well mixed way of Disarm, and then obviously Tonight that we're gonna see in the next album, and it obviously got better, but I like it. It works with Spaceboy. Spaceboy is a fantastic song. He plays it again every single tour that he does. People really, really want it. I went to his OG Lala tour, and a guy like screamed out like, we want to hear Spaceboy, and he actually played it for us because that guy asked for it later, like as an encore. So that was really, really cool. So Spaceboy, definitely much loved song, and it continues to solidify, you know, really fast first 7-ish songs on this album, and then he really starts to take the pace down. I think 8 songs. Then he really starts to take the pace down towards the end here. Okay, the next song is Silver Blank, and it's a 4-letter word, and it's commonly used for 2 different things, and I'm gonna stop it there. That's that song. What a song. What a song. Very cool. Very long. I think that can definitely get on people's nerves, how long it is. This is, I think, the longest song up until this point of Pumpkin's history that we had been, used to. It is 8 minutes and 43 seconds. That's very long. And I think I like it. I love this song. But it's only 8 minutes and 43 seconds just because, I mean, there's a huge section of this, like easily 50 seconds of just, the drums hitting the bass drum. And then you hear like the bass come in after that, and it's very, very quiet before he comes back and all the instruments kind of come back in together and destroy it at the end when the pace really jumps up by like tenfold. I love that. I love how it's put together. It's put together fast, slow, fast, slow, fast, slow. And I really think it's awesome. Really, really cool song. I've watched when they played it live back in '94. Super, super fun. It's a fun song. It's ending, if you're turning it up really loud, with the different pitches and how, he holds the notes towards the very end when like they're just messing around kind of. It can get pretty loud and can kind of hurt. So that is just like a part that I like to think about when I think about this song. But this is a really nice song. Sweet, Sweet is not my favorite. It's probably my second least favorite other than Rocket. But that doesn't mean it's bad. I like it. I like it's more like psychedelic, like the guitar has a different tone on it than any of the other guitar parts on this album. It's very, very short. It kind of seems to the point though where it doesn't necessarily need to be on the album. That's probably the only thing I have against it. It's nice. I love it. I like his voice. I like hearing the music. I like that it is played differently, and it sounds more like cheery compared to all of this other stuff that's definitely most of it not cheery. So it's a welcomed addition, but it's so short. It's like 1:30 seconds, 1:33. It's so short. Like, is there a point to have a song that's nearly 10 minutes in length and then have a song that's less than 2? I don't know. I don't think that's good placement. I think that doesn't hurt Silver Blank, but it does hurt Sweet Sweet. So that's just what I think about that one. And then Luna is at the end, and Luna's a really beautiful song too. A song that he doesn't play very often at all, and I think it's because he doesn't even remember the lyrics. I remember watching, again, like a VIP thing where people would request that he plays, he would ask for requests, and it had to be during a certain period of the band's time, and a person asked for that, and he didn't remember, like the person had to say it, and he knew the riffs, he knew how the song worked, but he didn't remember the lyrics. So that's fine, that's cool. You can't remember every song, but when that happens, it just feels like, I know he's older, and I know he's played so many songs, and you can't possibly remember every song you've ever made. But when he does that, it's like, well, if you don't even remember it, like why would you expect us to care about it? And just for the record, that's not how I feel. I love the song. I think it's a beautiful. It reminds me of a mix of like Mayonnaise, Sweet Sweet, and those middle songs. That's what it kind of reminds me of. Even Soma. This song, I oftentimes, when I first listened to the band, I got Luna and Soma confused. I would think they were each other most of the time. So for me, even, it gets confused with it. But that's totally cool. I mean, it's a really, really nice way to end the album. Really peaceful. It does get pretty rockish too. But it definitely keeps the balance and the order of the album going, and it's one of their stronger conclusions to an album as well, I would argue. Okay, so that is my review of Siamese Dream. I know it was super, super long. Hopefully you guys stayed with it for the whole time, or, if you did, if you didn't, that's okay. But I really just want to talk a lot about it. I mean, I love this album. Super, super good. In 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, I think it's 3 weeks, we're going to be having the Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness review. I was thinking originally of splitting it up into 2 because of the double CD. I'm not going to do that. Instead, it could be, oh boy, it could be 45 minutes to an hour. It could be one of the longest reviews I've ever done on the channel. I kind of want that, because it's at this point, where we are and with you guys. If you're gonna watch it, you're a Smashing Pumpkins fan, and so I think you'd watch the whole thing. I don't really think runtime matters to Smashing Pumpkins fans. So I'm going to be just doing the entire album. We're gonna do the same thing, history, and then talking about every single song on that 28-song album. I cannot wait to jump into that with you guys. Leave in the comments anything you want me to talk about for the future, any suggestions of what you think of Siamese Dream, and even what you think of Melancholy. Go check out our Gish review. I will see you guys on the next Smashing Pumpkins review.